Good morning, African Confessions. I am back with another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message we received it via our email address. Do not hesitate to contact us via our email address. The message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? We are a family from Tanzania and we are facing some challenges in our life. This was after my own father went to a place where he did a consultation with one of those traditional healers that he was always in contact with. Then he took a lucky charm because he wanted to get some promotion at his workplace. My father was a government official. The day that I saw this other post and it was talking about this government official, I then thought about my own father. Even though my father was not a government official that is really up there, but he was doing good. My parents had an average life and we grew up having a good life. I still remember that we went to one of the best schools in our country. By that time, I was still young, but our life was really good. We never lacked anything and we were just fine. I'm the firstborn in the family of 8, 5 girls and 3 boys, but we got nothing to show in our life. No matter how hard we try, we are just not going anywhere. Me and my siblings, even though we went to the best schools in the country, and we achieved higher education. But if you were to look at us, my brother, you will feel so sorry. I had this other brother of mine. He just started to go crazy. He was the last born in our family. I don't know if this was part of the rituals that our father did, or maybe it was because of depression. My brother lost his mind after he had graduated from the university and he was working at that time. And when he was on his attachment, everyone at that company that he was working for at that time kept on telling him that already the other managing directors, they wanted him to work for the company. But when his contract ended, they never renewed his contract. Instead, then they hired someone whom my own brother had trained. So this really pained him the most. And after that, no matter how hard he tried to achieve something in his life, he kept on facing a lot of bad luck. At that time, my own brother, he was dating this beautiful girl. They had dated each other since high school, and after my brother lost his job, that is when we heard that they had broken up. Within a short period of time, that girl who was dating my brother, she then got married to another guy. So up to now, I really don't know why my brother ended his life. I don't know if it was the evil spirits that were from the rituals that my father did that made him to commit suicide, or if it was just depression when he was looking at his life and he thought that his life was not worth living. But this really pained me, my brother. And after the death of my younger brother, everything just went south. As for me, I really had a suspect because when I was growing up, there was no man or boy who dared to approach me. But after the death of my brother, I saw that there were men that would come to propose love to me, but most of these men were married men. In my life, Brother Nashi, ever since I left high school, I have never dated a man who is not married. Even now, I am dating a married man. I actually went to this other church, and as I was speaking with the pastor, instead of him helping me, he then started to propose love to me. I was really embarrassed because he was in the position of power, and I really felt weak at that time. I let that man take advantage of me. After dating that pastor, he then broke up with me. But I am so used to this whole situation that I am facing in my life. I can only date married men. If I see a man that is not married, no matter how hard I try to seduce that man to fall in love with me, they will just ignore me and pretend as if I don't even exist. Next door to the place where I stay, there was this other fine gentleman. He was single, yes, indeed, here and there. I used to watch him go into his room with different women. that I just said that let me try him out because he was single. I thought that if I date him, maybe this bad luck that was on me was just going to fade away. I started seducing that man. Whenever he would be walking past our house, I would try to wear things that would make him to fall for me. I would speak with him until one day I asked for his number. And as we were speaking on WhatsApp, the day that he told me that he wanted me and him to try a relationship, that same night, he told me that he had a dream, and in that dream, he was being chased by my father, and my father was holding a butcher's knife, and my father, in his dream that he had, my own father, wanted to murder him. Then he told me that we cannot continue with this relationship because he told me that he had asked one of his uncles who is a herbalist, and then his uncle gave him a warning not to continue with this relationship. That is how the guy who was staying next door dumped me. We only dated for a day. The following day, then he just broke up with me. Ever since that day, I have never dated a guy who is single or a guy who is not married. And all of these guys, when I start dating them, it's not like they lie to me or what. They just come straight to me. Then they would tell me that I am a married man, but I just want to spend time with you. None of them ever give me fake promises like I am going to dump my wife and I am going to marry you. Most of these guys are open enough with me. They will just tell me that I want to date you, nothing else, no strings attached. I am living a painful life. It's like this man that I am dating, when they look at me, they just see a prostitute, a cheap prostitute, because most of the times when I sleep with them, they don't even pay me anything. Most of these guys that I am dating, they don't even bother to ask me, where am I going to get the money to buy sanitary pads, even undergarments. None of them have ever bought anything for me. Yet when you look at me, my brother, I am such a beautiful woman, so much that when I am walking in the street, if a guy speaks with me and if I tell them that I am single, they will just say, you are lying. It is not possible with all of this beauty for you to say that you are single. But I am single. It's not only me. Even my younger sisters, they are just living the same life that I am living. Now that we are old, instead of us moving out of the family house, all of us, my brother, we are still staying with our father in the same house. We don't have children. I can't have children. I don't understand why. I have tried to sleep with different men, not using any protection, but I have never fallen pregnant for anyone ever since I started having sexual relationships. There was this other sister of mine. She once fell pregnant once. Whenever we are discussing these issues that we are facing as a family, that sister of ours, she said that at the time when she had fallen pregnant for this other guy, that guy had invited her to their church. So on most Sundays, they would go to church. That is when she realized that she had fallen pregnant for him. And that guy then said, please do not tell anyone, because the guy was afraid, because it is the rule in their church that you are not supposed to have intercourse with anyone before you get married. So my younger sister and the guy that she was dating, they just kept it as a secret until one night my sister told us that she had a dream, and in her dream she saw our father. Our father was holding an empty basin. My father then forced my sister to sleep on a reed mat, and my father was naked in my sister's dream. And then my father started to deliver the baby from my sister's womb. But my younger sister said that in her dream, she didn't deliver her baby through the normal way. It was like my father was pulling the baby out of her stomach, and she watched as our father was placing that live baby in the basin, and the basin that my father was holding, it was filled with blood. Then he just walked out of the room. That is when my younger sister woke up and she was screaming. At that time, she said that she was sleeping in a room with her boyfriend. After that, they started to have a lot of arguments. Then they broke up. On the last day that they broke up, the guy that my younger sister was dating, the guy just said to my sister, you can remove this baby, you can have an abortion because I don't care about you and I don't care about the baby that you are carrying. Please just get out of my life. This is what happened to my younger sister. After a couple of days, that is when she started to bleed. Then she lost the baby. From that time, she never fell pregnant again. And me and my other sibling sisters, we never fell pregnant for anyone. We are just staying home. It is really hard for us because sometimes when you have money, sometimes money can just disappear from your pockets. The things that I still remember, my brother, is that I was around 15 years and I still remember that my father was working like he was in the government, but whenever he would come back home, he always complained that there was this other supervisor of his. The man was not a good man, and that man was the one who was stopping my father to get his promotion that he deserved. And my father would always complain that he has applied for this promotion for so many times, and his supervisor, he suspected that the supervisor was not forwarding those papers that my father kept on applying, and he wanted a higher office because the higher office was suiting his qualifications and his work experience. What I remember is that one day my father came back home. It was late in the night, but he had another man and we just thought it was one of his friends. Then my father told me and my siblings to go to my room. Later on, my mom came and she knocked on the door where me and my siblings were. Then when we went to the dining room, that is when we saw that the man who had came with our father on that night, that man was a ritualist. And then my father told me and my siblings to kneel down, and our mother was kneeling in front. We were kneeling in a single row, and my father was standing in front of that herbalist. The herbalist then sprinkled a lot of herbs and a lot of water on my father, so much that the following morning we had to mop up the floor because I think he poured about 3 buckets of water on my father. The following morning, we actually had to remove the carpet because it was really wet and it had to stay outside until it was dry. After that herbalist had finished pouring buckets of water on my father's body, that is when he stripped naked my father. Then he gave my father some animal skins to wear. Then my father wore those scary animal skins. Me, my mother, and my siblings, we were just kneeling in front of our father. And after that, my father then removed his manhood. Then he started to hit us on the forehead with his manhood. He first rubbed his manhood on our mother's forehead. After that, he then started to hit our foreheads with his manhood. At that time, I was the older one and I was really shocked. My other siblings, they didn't understand what was going on. But for me, it was the first time for me to see a man's manhood, and it was my father's manhood. I was not comfortable about this thing, but I was really scared. After they had done that ritual, that is when the herbalist threatened us that we should not tell anyone. If we do it, he was going to get us killed. Then my mom died mysteriously that same year. After the death of my mom, that is when we heard that our father had gotten a promotion and he was really happy. When I was 18 years, my father gave me a drink. After that, he took me to my mom's grave. It was at night. He told me that I should take off my clothes. And when my father forced to have intercourse with me, he cursed me after he had found out that I was no longer a virgin. When he took me to my mother's grave and when he abused me on top of my mother's grave, he thought that I was a virgin. After that, he cursed me. I still can't remember exactly what he said, but I just suspect that he said words like, "You will never be blessed in your life," and he just left me lying on top of my mother's grave. When he had reached the place where he had parked his car, that is when he shouted at me, and I had to walk alone from the place where my mother's grave was to his car. The following evening, I then saw my father taking one of my youngest sister. I don't know where he went with her, but I just suspect that also went to our mother's grave to do that ritual. Whenever I try to speak with my little sister about this issue, she says that she doesn't remember anything, but I remembered everything because at that time I was 18 years. Brother Nashi, we are just a depressed family. I have tried everything. I have tried applying for different jobs, but nothing is working. What pains me the most is that whenever I look at my father, I feel so much hatred. At the same time, I feel so sad for him because right now my father is someone who is no longer mentally stable. When you are speaking with him, he can tell you some things that you won't be able to understand. But as a family, we are just depressed. If I don't hear anything from any of my siblings for more than an hour or so, I will try to look for them because I am afraid of what happened to our youngest brother, the one that committed suicide. I make sure that all of my siblings, they are always close to me. Please, my brother, you can try to post this story for me. Hey, dear listeners, right there was a message that I received from Anonymous. Strange things do happen in this world. There is nothing good that comes out of these blood money rituals. It doesn't matter what kind of a situation you are in. There is nothing like easy money in this world. That is why each and every morning people wake up so that they can go to work, because there is nothing that comes for free with all of these blood money rituals. Please let us talk about this issue in the comment section. I'll be back with another episode.